This is Donna Wright. And Donna has been a long-time supporter, volunteer, board member with TLC, and she is an expert on this property in particular. She is involved with
Happy to see everybody here today. He passed away a few years ago, and as he was in his 80s, having had quadruple bypass, he decided it was time to get his affairs in order. And he had had a long relationship with the Land Conservancy, and at the time that he settled his estate, he decided to give the entirety of the property to TLC. But he said that he would do it only if we agreed to make it available to the public for education and scientific study. And one of my dreams is that one of these days we're going to have a kite festival here, because it's a great site district having a kite festival. But Mr. Temple would be very happy to see you all here. Now, so what is a grassland? It's a natural grassland is maintained because it has a droughty condition so that the trees cannot grow, but that's not a problem here in North Carolina because we get a lot of rain. It also is maintained in nature. Think about the plains of Africa. A lot of the grasslands there are maintained by grazing, by large grazing herds. And in the back in the prairie states, they were maintained by grazing by the bison. But the bison haven't been, we used to have bison here, and whatever grasslands we had in North Carolina originally were maintained by woodland elk and woodland bison, which we used to have right here. There's evidence for them having been in this part of North Carolina in migration. And deer and other things like that. But deer are browsers, they're not grazers. So the big grazing animals that chew up the grasses and keep the soil just a little bit disturbed is what it takes. And the other thing that's really important is fire. There's almost no grassland ecology any place on the planet that isn't partially fire maintained. So most places where natural grasslands occur, either they're so far out in the wilderness nobody cares, or they're fire suppressed. And when they become fire suppressed, they become a very different kind of ecological system. So just wanted to let you know kind of where we're at ecologically, because we have to introduce fire here to create that element of the natural system. Side where you turn to come in, and that's called Indian grass. And so I started out trying to get Indian grass established in here by collecting it from several sites around the neighborhood as seed, and the students for the last 3 years have been sowing little pockets of that all out in this area here. Now this plant here, these are the rhizome clumps of what's called big blue stem. And the big blue stem, if you remember reading in your history books about when the prairie settlers went across the great prairies in Kansas and Nebraska and stuff, and they drove for miles through these tall grasses that were so high you couldn't see over them unless you were on the back of a horse. This was one of the grasses. The other one was big switchgrass. Quite a bit of them all around in this area are where the students 2 years ago planted seeds. It's a time like that. And find an empty spot somewhere. Right where, like that, a swath through there, that group. So if you want to go down the hill that way, or back up in here, that's fine. Anywhere you want to plant some. Here you go. Thank you. And the frost really hits it, but boy, that rhizome is down there.
Seed right
yeah,
there.
yeah. They are such wicked things. Such wicked things. So anyway, well, let's go take a look at the outcrop, and I'll talk to you a little bit about its ecology and why it's flat. Right at the edge of the outcrop here. Let me step back a little bit, let people come on out. Underneath you is this enormous granite mountain that goes from almost from Garner all the way up into northern Franklin County, and from about where Wake Med is in Raleigh over to Zebulon. It's an enormous granite mountain. If you've ever seen or heard Stone Mountain in Georgia, it's a big mountain with the carving on the side. Well, there's one of those under the ground here, same formation. On the top of Stone Mountain and Panola Mountain is a similar formation to this in terms of vegetation and stuff, plants. It's just that theirs got eroded away and ours did not. It's a new species, a new habitat to invasive exotic, and that's what happens with things coming in.